Home sellers. Selling your home means strangers walking through your front door, sometimes unattended. Most of the time, it's totally fine, but sometimes it's not. I've sold over 2,500 homes, roughly 50 times more than the average realtor. And so today, we're going to talk about how to protect yourself, how to protect your family, and your property during the home selling process. This episode could save you some major regret. So stick around and we'll show you how to get through the home selling process smoothly and safely. Welcome to Talking Realty, the podcast for home sellers who want to make more money, save time, and avoid headaches. I'm Glen Whitten, founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we do all the same things as traditional realtors, but instead of charging 6%, we charge a low, flat fee, so you keep more money and still get better results. Check out all the free tools at talkingrealty.com, and if you like the show, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get to it. Home sellers, in the last episode, I mentioned that I could hear the security-minded people yelling at me during my reduce showing friction rant. I also promised I would cover this in more detail, so here it is. Besides my promise from the last episode, as fate would have it, I had a conversation with a former seller, and she's getting ready to list again and is concerned about security. The first time she sold a few years ago, it was for her parents' estate. So safety and security were not as much on her mind. The house was vacant and empty, so that meant there were no belongings or breakable, stealable items that she needed to worry about, no personal information, no prescriptions that she needed to lock up for showings. And since most of the showings were conducted with a buyer's agent and the house was on a lockbox, she never really had to worry about having someone else with her or someone coming back later unannounced or uninvited. Well, this time she was planning to sell her personal home and had some concerns. Totally understandable. What follows today is the safety and security playbook that we recommend for anybody who's selling a home, whether you live there or not. Naturally, a vacant home certainly is less worrisome, but in some ways, unattended properties present other risks. Think about copper thieves or appliance thieves, maybe even squatters. So we'll cover the entire spectrum today. Before I begin, I would like to say, however, that in 25 years, hopefully Murphy's not listening, but in 25 years and thousands of homes, I can't actually recall instances where one of my sellers was in danger or hurt. Same with their homes and their stuff. But I watch a disturbing number of true crime shows, so the paranoia is not by accident. By the way, everything I'm going to refer to in terms of tools is in our home seller toolkit. I don't know how well you can see this on YouTube, but there it is. First is the declutter checklist on pages 15 through 18, then the staging checklist on pages 28 to 33, and the showing and open house checklists. You really need to see those. They're dynamite on pages 41 to 45. Well, the entire library is free, and you can get access to it through a link in the comments on YouTube or through the show notes at talkingrealty.com. The first set of advice I have for you today is by far the most important aspect of this topic, and that's personal safety and security. It stinks to lose, but stuff can be insured and replaced. People can't. So let's talk about how to keep you and your family safe when you're selling the house. Now, the first one may seem like a no-brainer, but, well, you'd be surprised. Do not host unverified showings. Never allow anybody to tour your home, either without an agent present or without confirming that they're working with an agent. If you have unrepresented buyers, I'll cover that in a minute. But in terms of just agents requesting showings, make sure that it's really an agent, or if it's a buyer who wants to see it, that you've put them through some paces to make sure that they're legit. We accomplish this by requiring every agent who wants to go through the house to go through Showing Time, the showing software. We do this because only licensed realtors, inspectors, and licensed appraisers can access your listing to schedule a showing. So in other words, no license, they can't even get on Showing Time. So automatically, we know when we get a showing request through Showing Time, we know a handful of things. First, this is a licensed individual, whether it's a realtor, or whether it's an inspector or an appraiser, we know that they're licensed and vetted. Second, we now have their name, their company name, their license number, and all their contact information the moment they even request a showing, not even when it's approved. We have it as soon as they request it. And third, we know when they're coming and we know why, because showing time allows whoever's requesting an appointment at the house to select from showing, second showing, appraisal, walkthrough, inspection. They designate as they're requesting the appointment the purpose of that appointment. So you know these things, all of this, before you ever allow a showing. Showings can also be set to automatically approve, which is great if you have a model home or you've got a vacant property on a lockbox. But if someone, you or a tenant, is living there, we can also set it up so that you or the tenant approves the request. So again, no surprises. I don't want unverified or unannounced showings. We can also set a minimum lead time, anywhere from maybe 30 minutes, which is pretty short if you're living there, to even a couple of days. So in the case where we have tenants, I just did an episode on selling properties when you have tenants, where I went deep on this process of how to handle showings for tenants. But in that, I covered the fact that you can set lead times of 1, 2, 3 days if you want. You can also schedule restrictions for specific days or specific times, even whether they're one-offs or whether they're regular occurring, reoccurring rather, schedule conflicts when people just can't see the property or it can't be accessed. All of that is available inside of showing time. So it gives you a tremendous amount of power to control access to the property. One other thing about showing time is that the access instructions, so if you have a lockbox code or you have a hidden key, none of that is shown to anyone until you, the seller, approve the showing, unless it's on automatic, but you understand that. Now, I'm not big on showing restrictions. As you've probably heard me say multiple times, I don't like showing friction, but I also know that life is real. And while your home isn't your home when you're selling, it's actually a product for sale, you also have to be realistic about what you can and what you can't do given your situation. Now, if you're worried, reach out to me and I'll let you know what we've seen, what's worked in the past, what other sellers who have had maybe special situations, whether it be pets or children, or maybe even a family member who can't just pick up and leave at a moment's notice. I know when my mom was living with my sister and they were thinking about selling, there was no way mom could just pack up in 30 minutes and get out of there. So we get it. We have seen it all and we can help you. Like I said, reach out to me through the show notes or through DMs or whatever if you got a weird situation, and I'll give you some advice or push you in the right direction and maybe help you figure out how to get that done and still allow as many showings as possible. So this one is an actual no-brainer, at least I would hope so, and that is never show the home or host an open house alone. I mean, never. Just don't do it. The rare instances where crimes have happened during a showing or an open house, one thing never varies. The person showing the home was alone. If you're showing your own home, get someone to be there with you, a neighbor, a friend, family member, adult family member that is, or hire someone. There's probably people on Fiverr or security people that can help you out in a weird situation if you've got a long open house. You can also contract with local realtors. If you want to have an open house, but you don't want to host it because you're by yourself, again, get a hold of me. We will tell you how this playbook works, but you can have a local agent host that open house for you, either for a set fee, maybe a few $100s, or maybe they do it for free, but they keep all the buyers that they collect from that open house. You don't care. You want to sell. So where there's a will, there's a way, folks. We can solve this together. But if you literally can't find anyone to be there when you have to show the home, be gone. Seriously, just don't be there. Get a video surveillance system, which I'll dig into a little bit more later, maybe one with two-way communication, and be on video, maybe be on FaceTime or Zoom, but definitely don't be there. But if you literally can't find anyone to be there with you when you have to show the home, be gone. Seriously, just do not be there. Don't put yourself in that situation. Get a video surveillance system with two-way communication, or be on video with FaceTime or Zoom during the showing, but do not be there, period. Same is true for open houses. Either have one person with you if it's a reasonably sized home, but if you've got a large home with a lot of extra buildings or things like that, have a couple of people there with you. They can just hang around, playing on their phones or answering questions, things like that, but having them there is enough of a deterrent 99% of the time. Now, I did everything I just told you not to do as a rookie. I worked for Remax, and I worked, we contracted with a condo development, and the builder, in order to give the listing to us, said, hey, I will only do it if you agree to host a 4-hour open house in the model home every Sunday afternoon. And being the rookie buyer's agent, thinking I was going to scoop up all these $500,000 buyers, I got talked into it. I committed to the first year. I sat for hours every Sunday in a model home with furnishings alone for an advertised block of time. I mean, it was permanently posted on the sign when you drove into the development. Every Sunday, 1 to 5, open house at the model. I was a sitting duck and I didn't even know it. So you live and learn. All right. When you're there in the property, assuming you're living there and there isn't a showing, make sure you keep your doors and your windows locked. Now, most people probably do that anyway, but some people don't. When you're not there, just take some basic security measures for your peace of mind. Remember, the whole world knows that you're selling your house. So lock all the doors, lock all the windows, keep the shades and curtains closed. Now, some people, they're just idiots, agents included. They see a for sale sign and they immediately think it means that they can just walk up, knock on your door, or worse, try the door. And if it's open, walk in. They just walk in. Now, this happens far more often than you think. And I can't believe more people, especially in those stand your ground states, more people don't get shot. I've heard usually the story revolves around walking in on naked people. I don't know why, but the point is it's happening in 2025. People are still seeing a for sale sign and assuming that even though that's your house and they don't have an appointment, they can just walk up, knock on the door. If nobody answers, they can just grab the doorknob. And I guess they figure it's like Walmart. It's open 24/7. You just walk right in. So lock your doors, lock your windows, make sure none of this crazy shenanigans happens to you. It's illegal for someone to do that. And it's a ridiculously dumb thing to do. But mark my words, it is happening nationwide, including in our great state of Ohio. So make it a habit. Just lock it all up when you get home. Agents and buyers will run around and unlock doors. Sometimes they unlock windows, raise them up just to see how they're working, things like that. So check it every time you come back. If you're going to be in for the day or in for the night, you don't have any more showings, then check it. So another idea is to empty the lockbox between showings. So if the key isn't in the lockbox, it's a lot harder for people to enter your home when they're not scheduled. But you have to have total control over the lockbox to make this happen. Now, there are all sorts of fancy lockboxes out there on the market, including ones issued by realtors. They have these fancy Centralocks and Supra keys and all these other things that they want to stick on your home to make it easier to show. And there's a lot of merit in that. However, there's one problem. You can't control them. So if you want to have the fancy electronic lockbox, make sure that you are the only person who can control access to that lockbox. I want you to be the one who can set the code and who can put it on and take it off when it's not in use. That said, I would never allow a realtor to put a lockbox on my home unless I could personally open it, remove it, and change the code anytime my little freaked out heart desires. Most realtor lockboxes can only be controlled by the realtor. Sure, they will say they will change the code anytime you like, but you're never going to know for sure because you don't have one of those fancy super keys. You don't have the super app that they give realtors. So there's no way for you to double check it. The best option for me anyway is a good old fashioned manual lockbox. You set the code, you own the lockbox, you can open it, you can remove the key between showings, you can remove the lockbox. If you don't have showings for a few days or it's a holiday weekend or you've got guests in town and you don't want that lockbox on your door, you can just take it right off. Well, if you have one of those other ones, you can't do that. You can also move it to a different door if you like. You can control who gets the code. You can change the code anytime, as often as you want. You can change it after every showing or every day if that's what you want. Realtors who use manual lockboxes, I will tell you from a vast amount of experience, never change the code. I remember back when I showed homes, I knew of the 5 busy listing agents in my area. I could tell you from the sign in the yard what the lockbox code was because I showed their properties all the time. And over a period of years, they just didn't change those lockbox codes. I don't know if it was laziness or they're afraid they wouldn't get out there and wouldn't be able to open the property. But anyway, Realtors also love to give that code out to make it easier for other people to show. But that kind of loose control is how bad stuff happens. Agent B calls the listing agent and says, hey, I've got an out-of-town buyer. I'm in the neighborhood. What's the code for blah, blah, blah? They didn't go through any of the proper channels. You may never even find out about the showing. If it's vacant, it's like, oh yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the side door. And then the agent completely forgets that happened, forgets to follow up. And now not only does another agent have it that's not registered anywhere, but perhaps even their buyer, if they're on speakerphone, you just don't know. But if you control it and you can change it whenever you want, you will be safer. End of discussion. Now we're going to show you how to up your game on this whole keeping track of the property here in a little bit. Hey, real quick, if you're thinking about selling, do not do it without our ultimate home selling toolkit. It's totally free. It's packed with the exact contracts, forms, and checklists that we use every day to manage hundreds of sales a year. Whether you're selling for sale by owner or you just want to know what to expect, this thing is pure gold. Download your free copy at talkingrealty.com or check the show notes for that link. Seriously, hit the pause button. Go do it now. I'll wait. So now that we've covered a little bit about how to protect you, let's talk about how to protect your stuff. The first and easiest thing to do is to remove the things that you're worried about. Now, on page 15 to 18 of the home selling toolkit, there is a declutter checklist, and it's mentioned that you should remove valuables and remove prescriptions, but I kind of want to double click on this for a bit. My dad always used to say, a little preparation, a little locking doors, it goes a long way toward keeping honest people honest. You can lock things up in a safe, but I would much rather just completely remove these things from your home before you start showing. I'm talking about jewelry. I'm talking about firearms, artwork, precious things that maybe aren't valuable, but they're valuable to you. Prescription medications, maybe keep those in your car or your purse, because I know you can't just stow them and forget about them. Anything that's like an easily stolen electronics, phones, tablets, laptop computers, cash. So don't just hide your valuables in drawers and closets, because buyers open all of those. I've seen buyers open stuff that they should know not to open, but they do it anyway. I mean, house guests do it. You have a party, believe me, people are going through your medicine cabinet and your night table drawers. So just keep that in mind. But get a safe, or if you have firearms, get a gun safe and put everything in there. Now, I'd still rather avoid it altogether, but I get it. If for whatever reason you can't remove those things or don't want to, keep them locked up in a big giant safe that hopefully nobody even sees, but if they do, they're intimidated by it. Another option, keep all your valuables at the home of a trusted friend or relative just while you're selling. My other favorite move is if you have access to where you're moving, just pre-move all that stuff. Or if you're packing to declutter and storing things somewhere, if it's a secure area, great, stick them in there. If you don't have a choice, maybe keep the smaller items in a tote if you're using them every day, and then just take them with you during showing. Just put them in your car if you're doing the showing, or if you're leaving, to go get ice cream during a showing, which is what you should always do, then just throw them in the trunk of your car and go. The main thing is that if they're not there or they're totally inaccessible, you don't have to worry, and maybe you'll be a little less stressed during the home selling process. All right, let's talk about identity theft and personal information. If you read my book or you go take my course, the Living to Listing course on how to prep your home before you sell, I do a whole dissertation and a video on depersonalization. There are many, many facets to it and many benefits to it, but one of the biggies is avoiding identity theft and the loss of or unintended access by others of your personal information. This one is very real. Don't assume it's not going to happen to you, because pretty much everybody that it's ever happened to thought it would never happen to them, including yours truly. Yep. Stay tuned for a little more on that one later. If you have personal documents that you don't need, please shred them. Just get rid of them. Now, there are also many, many fancy things like Evernote and Google Keep and things like that, where you can digitize all that stuff. If you don't need a hard copy of it, there's no point in keeping the paper laying around. I have a rather impressive shredder right over here by my desk. We shred all kinds of stuff, and it's great. If I don't need it, great. If I need it and don't want to have the copy, I just scan it, digitize it, good forever. No reason to have paper copies around unless you have to. And if you do, get a safety deposit box, please. Do yourself a favor. Remove anything Anything that a buyer or agent can stumble across that has your full name, your birth date, or your social security number, anything that could be used to develop a shadow identity. Store all your mail out of sight. Get your bills, your medical records, all that stuff. Make sure it's locked up tight where no one can get to it. Log out of all computers, all tablets. I know it's a pain in the butt, but if you can't take them with you, this portable stuff, and you have to leave it, like part of my setup here, I can't just pack up and take every time I leave. So I will make sure if I ever, who are we kidding? I'm never going to sell this house. But if I were, I would make sure that I had multiple layers of password protection so no one could access my stuff when I wasn't here. Things maybe you don't think of: personal photos, diplomas, certificates, things like that. These are all really innocent looking things, maybe even brag-worthy. You got a whole wall with your stuff on it, but again, a treasure trove for someone looking to steal your identity. You have no idea how real criminals think, probably. Watch enough crime shows, you'll start to get the picture. But the smallest clue to your identity, your job, your education, your family ties, your hobbies, your clubs that you belong to may be enough to get around many of the security measures that are out there. Speaking of data security, let's talk about one of our sponsors, Associate Title, and how they keep your identity safe when you sell. The Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by our friends at Associates Title. This team is shaking things up by focusing on what truly matters, putting customers first. Whether you're buying, selling, investing, for sale by owner, or working with a realtor, they've got your back with incredible cost savings and the latest tech to streamline the process. Their secure, listen up, secure online portal keeps everyone in the loop. It's called Qualia Connect, and it is fantastic. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, a lender, or an agent, all the communication happens while keeping your data super safe. If you're getting ready to sell, don't underestimate the importance of having a great title company in your corner. Check them out today at associatestitleinc.com or call my friend Ryan Phillips at 614-419-2418. Do not leave your title company choice to chance, and definitely don't let the buyer or their agent make that choice for you. All right, back to the show. All right, let's talk about surveillance. I love this. And smart homes, by the way, which I don't have a smart home, but I talk to lots of people who do. So smart cameras are fantastic, but you have to tell people. In fact, especially if they record, Ohio requires a disclosure. Now, if there's an option in the MLS, we, your Ohio Property Group people, typically say, yes, there's surveillance, just because we don't know, and we'd rather disclose and not have it there than not disclose it and have it there and get somebody in trouble. But even if you're not recording, I would still tell people that you are recording, because what did Dad say? If you're recording and you tell people you're recording, you might keep honest people honest. So that covers the majority of what I want us to talk about, but there are a handful of loose ends that, sort of catch-all stuff that I want to make sure we cover so that we've given this thorough treatment. So in your listing photographs, you don't want to show any of the stuff that you don't want people to know you have or to steal. So things that we've already talked about, you can remove them before you shoot the photos. Just remove them from the house. That way, before you shoot the photos and before you start showing, they're just gone. They're out of the way and they're taken care of. Not only is it safer, but bonus, the truly unique items that are in your home become points of battle during the negotiation. So we had one a few years ago where we had this super cool handmade custom pool table light. It was an Ohio State theme. It was massive. It was gorgeous, like stained glass pieces and things like that. Looked amazing in the photos. The problem was every buyer that came along wanted that light. So just get rid of it. Take it down, put up a decent light, but one that you don't care whether or not it stays, and now it's no longer an issue. So that's your bonus. So all your cool stuff, before you take the pictures, pre-move it, replace it, do something, but don't ever let it enter the buyer's mind. Other things I would like you to remove before the photography is done or before any video walkthroughs, any of that stuff, would be family calendars, family photos, kids' names, anything with personal details, diplomas, like I said, job certificates earlier. And again, yes, you can blur them out. It's kind of weird looking, but better just get rid of it. Just get it out of there, because even if you blur it out, somebody's going to see it during the showing. And the house should look like the photos. When you get there, it shouldn't look radically different. Now, you can go to any number of stores. You can get collections of framed photos or art to replace them. Again, things that look nice, that are generic, that are not personal to you, and you don't mind leaving them if that person who buys it wants all the artwork. Now, these also serve the dual and awesome benefit of neutralizing your space for the next buyer. During the photography, during the showing, it's important for buyers to be able to picture themselves, see what I did there, living there. They need to be able to visualize this space being their own. When you've got a totally neutral space, neutral colors, neutral artwork, that's like a blank canvas for them. They can start to run wild, hopefully placing furniture and mentally moving in. Remember, buyers buy on emotion and then they justify with logic. Well, not just buy, everybody buys on emotion and then justifies with logic. Your family history is not going to move the needle on the emotional scale for the buyer. To stay on point, no one can use information they don't have. See, I brought it back. You probably thought I forgot where we were going. But anyway, you can blur it, but it's very hard to blur stuff during a showing. Depersonalization not only helps protect your identity, but it increases the odds that you're going to get an offer or maybe 5 offers. Another tidbit. Let's be careful about what we say publicly. My good friend, Roger, always said that social media is like leaving your curtains and windows wide open so everyone who passes by can see and hear everything going on in your home. And in many ways, he is not wrong. I thought he was kind of a curmudgeon when he said it back in 2015 or whatever, but he was absolutely right. Social media is a massive weapon when you're selling, but like all weapons, safety first. You can post about your home, the features. You can post about what makes it so amazing. You can post what you love about the house and the surroundings, but don't post things that people don't need to know. So, for example, hey, we're out all day. Okay, most people know not to post that, but some people still post that stuff. Whatever. You do what you want to do when your house isn't for sale. But when your house is for sale, you are a magnet. Now, they see that you're out. Just stay with me on my true crime here. They see that you're out all day. They know that your house is for sale. They can literally case it by going through the photos online, especially if you haven't depersonalized. You're setting the stage for some bad afternoons when you get home. Here's another one. We're going on vacation, so tell your agent to set up the showing. Direct quote. Terrible idea. Tell your agent to set up a showing. No problem with that. We're going on vacation, bells going off. Moving sale, love this one. Moving sale, guns, jewelry, Tiffany lamps, many tools, etc. Right? Ripped from today's headlines. Terrible, terrible thing to post online. Home is vacant, so you can move right in. Hello, squatters. Hey, anybody who wants to steal all my wiring and copper piping, home is vacant. So, you might want to hold off on those. Plus, vacant homes tend to bring lower offers. Now, it's not like you're going to hide the fact that it's vacant, but we also don't need to advertise. If you want to advertise immediate possession, you can do that because lots of people live in their home and can give possession at closing. These posts seem very harmless. I get that, but hopefully by now you recognize how dangerous these little things can be in the wrong hands. So best practice, post about the house, post about the features, and leave it at that. Let's talk about open houses for a second. Now, first of all, pages 43 to 45 in the Home Sellers Toolkit is a complete dossier on holding an open house. I also did an entire podcast episode about using open houses and weaponizing them. Check it out. I will link to it in the show notes, but it covers the prep, covers the marketing, and covers the entire execution of the open house. But one of the safety and security related things that we recommend is to log all visitors. We give you a free sheet to log said visitors in the Home Sellers Toolkit. Just copy it off or use it as a template to make your own. If you're hosting, please get some people to host with you, at least one, maybe scary looking large friend or feisty friend who can handle themselves. It is definitely safer. Please see the earlier rant in this episode. And it also makes you look busier. Truth number 11, nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. It's not like buyers are walking around with name tags. They're not necessarily going to know that those extra bodies in your open house are not buyers. They may just make some assumptions. If your agent is hosting an open house, we do not want bad things happening on your watch. So please ask them for security and for safety of them and your stuff. Ask them to please not host alone. They will probably gripe about that because it's going to be hard for them to get someone. But if you can be there or you can provide an extra body for them, great, because we need to keep tabs on groups. This is an old tactic. They walk in, maybe they've got kids who are distracting somebody and running around and touching stuff, and the agent's freaking out or the seller's freaking out while the other person cases happens. So let's not let it happen to you. That way, if we've got several people in the open house, you can have them help and assist. All right, final warning before your open house, please remove all valuables and all prescriptions for the day. Well, it might not be my final. It probably is, but we'll see. I reserve the right to warn you again. So all of this applies to inspections and all of this applies to appraisals. Make sure they book them through showing time, just like we talked about earlier. Make sure you check them out, that they're licensed if they don't book through showing time. You can look up every appraiser, every realtor, every inspector in the state of Ohio must have a license, and those licenses are available to view for the public. I'll tell you what, as a favor, because I love you all, I will link the license lookup for the state of Ohio. You can go there, you can look up anybody with a license. I don't care if they're doing hair or they're installing roofs, whatever. If they have a license in the state of Ohio to do something professional, they're available for lookup. If they don't book through showing time, check them out. Be there. Don't be alone. And bonus, check out pages 56 to 58 in the Home Seller's Toolkit on how to prepare for an inspection and an appraisal. But I think you get the idea now. You can be safe and still successful when you sell your house. Selling your home should never come with personal risk. Most buyers are honest. And if you do the right things right, most of them will stay honest. And with that, tell you what, I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you learned a little something, maybe had a little fun. The Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned brokerage where we sell homes for a low, flat fee. If you have a question, you have a guest, you have a topic that you'd like to see on YouTube or hear on the podcast, I would love to hear from you. Just head to talkingrealty.com and say hello. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Whitten signing off. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.